The topic of who has it worse today, men or women, comes up a lot online, mainstream media, and so on. And there's the belief online, especially in the self-improvement space, manosphere space, that men have it a lot worse today. And then in mainstream culture, it sort of tends towards women seemingly having it worse because of rife sexism and so on. And I think people are approaching it slightly with the wrong lens on it, and I'm going to explain why I think that actually men have it slightly worse, and only slightly. So for me personally, when you look at all the statistics and so on, it seems like men have it slightly worse. Okay, but women are really struggling as well. There's different things, right? I mean, you look at the suicide rates, for example. 80% of suicides are men. 80% are men. And I hear this a lot in the self-improvement space. And men bring this up all the time, and they say, well, obviously men are really struggling mentally, but women actually attempt to kill themselves more than men do. Now you could say, an unsuccessful suicide, is it really a suicide attempt? I mean, that's a debate for another time. But if you look at actually where we are mentally, psychologically, mental health problems, rates of happiness and so on, actually seems like women are struggling just as much, if not worse than men. Women take more antidepressant medication than men. Women's rates of happiness women's rates of unhappiness are the highest points that they've ever been. But also so are men's. Everything psychologically, from a happiness standpoint, from a contentment standpoint, it's getting worse for both sexes. We're both struggling mentally. And you can point to all these type of statistics and say, yeah, but men are falling out of education more than women, and women are doing better in the workplace, especially before the age of 30. They're making more money per hour work for the same job, and yada, yada, yada. Yeah, of course. But when you add it all up and you look at the psychological outcomes of this, both sexes are really struggling here. There's something deeply wrong in Western culture that is causing these issues, and it's multifaceted. But I think where it's slightly worse for men and just slightly better for women is that essentially women, or should I say society, orientates itself around the lies that they tell women. What do I mean by that? So we do live in the West in a femme-centric society, and it builds women up, tells them they're amazing just for the way they are. It says that they go out, whatever you can do, whatever a man does, that if you do the same as a man, that's raised up, that's celebrated. They're being told all the time that they can have everything, that they can be single and free and date around and make a career and then have a family and settle down and all of that stuff. And all of these lies that they're being told is just trying to boost women's self-esteem. They're almost a little bit being gaslit, actually, about their issues. Being told how great it is that they're out there and making a killing and doing everything men have done forever. Whereas on the flip side of it, men are just kind of ignored. Just told to suck it up. And your time in the sun is over. It's your time of dominance is over, and it's women's time now. And when women do raise concerns, people do listen. Society does try to tilt towards listening and sorting out those issues that women have. But generally, as long as it falls within the frame of, hey, get working so you can pay your taxes. But when it comes to men's issues, you really are sort of expected to just deal with it. No one really cares. Sometimes you hear about men should talk about their problems, and when that happens, when it boils down to it, the reaction is often crickets, pin drops. So this is where the big fundamental difference lies. Women are heard, they're listened to, they're raised up, they're celebrated for doing all the things that men do. But when men are struggling, and when men achieve things, people don't really care. And that's sad. And because ultimately we're both struggling. And I don't have the answers here, because the answers are multifaceted. It's complex. How do we solve this issue? How do we become more happy? How do we become more content? How do we find our purpose within societies generally, for both sexes, and coming together, right? That's a topic, you know, there's so many things at play there. But where it needs to start, what it needs to start with, from both sides, from men and women, we need to start with some empathy. Because too many times this debate is a men versus women thing. I've seen so many women roll their eyes at men's issues and vice versa. And the thing is, I genuinely believe this. The people at play, the powers at play that run mainstream narrative and culture and our institutions, they'll do anything they can to pit one another against each other, to pit ourselves against each other. You see this all the time. Black versus white, right versus left, Republican versus Democrat, men versus women. And this is just another thing. We're being played like fiddles. And the earlier we can wake up and realize that these are games that these elites want us to play, or we can start approaching it from a point of view like, okay, we're actually all in this together. And I have some empathy for your side. I'm suffering, you're suffering. Let's hear this out. Let's have actual rational conversations about this, instead of just arguing for our team. Because that's not getting us anywhere. Because it's not working. Because we're all suffering here. So I don't have the answers of all the solutions, but it definitely does need to start with empathy. And you know what? The crazy thing is, as I'm doing this video, I feel like this is the most controversial thing to say. Like, how fucked up is that? That I'm not on only men's side here. And I'm all about helping men here. That's what I'm mostly about. I want to help men because I'm a man and I can relate to that the most. But I want us all to heal. I always want us all to be better and do better and live better lives. But yeah, saying that we're both struggling, that feels like, that feels almost controversial. It's kind of fucked up. But yeah, what do you think, guys?